What's up, everybody? It's Realistic with Realistic Productions doing another tutorial for SoundOracle.net. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over multi-band saturation. It's just a little technique where you can use different types of saturation on different frequencies of the bass. So we could do a whole different type of distortion and saturation in the low end versus the mid and the high end. And we're going to do some things that can really get some stuff to pop through the mix with our bass and our 808s. All right, let's dive in.
All right, so I got Pro Tools open up here, but like I always say, you can do these tricks and techniques in any DAW. They'll work just fine. And if you haven't already, go ahead and open your DAW of choice. If you're capable of it, you'll find that you'll learn a lot more if you do this along with me instead of trying to retain it later. So what we're doing today is multi-band saturation. It's really cool. It's one of my favorite things to do with bass and 808s and other instruments. You can do different types of saturation at different frequencies, and I think that's really cool, and it lets you excite different areas of your bass and 808 with different effects. It's pretty sweet. So I'm going to actually go through a few ways to do it because I know not everyone has the same plugins that I do, but I'll go ahead and play what I got here. These are just some samples that I got from, most of them are from SoundOracle.net. All the drums are. The lead melody, too, is from a free kit that he released with Triza a few Halloweens ago. And it's always good to start with some high-quality samples because then it makes the mixing and the effects process go a lot easier. So I'll show you what I got here.
It's the realist.
And then I switch over to a different type of bass later. So yeah, both the 808 and bass, they sound really good, but I always like to just excite things a little bit. So let's go ahead and solo this 808, and then we'll add on some saturation here. I'm going to start with Isotope's Trash 2. This one's pretty cool. I like this one a lot. I believe they use this on Justin Timberlake's voice for Sexy Back, this same plugin. So that's kind of cool. If you're wondering where you got that kind of distorted sound, it came from this plugin. So I'll show you kind of how to use this. Here is how the 808 sounds by itself. Already sounds really cool, but if you want to use it in here, just engage multiband. And up here is where you will be able to change the frequencies between each one. So 1 will be this area, 2 will be this area in between, and then we got top end right here. And we'll also be able to solo things if you just want to hear what that saturation on that band sounds by itself. So we'll start with 1, and I'll move it to a little bit lower as I want to excite the frequencies, 20 hertz up to about 80 here with something else. So let's start with, I don't know, maybe a type of saturation actually, since I don't want to go too crazy on the low end because that's already where the fundamental frequencies are, so we don't have to excite them too much. But let's start with maybe a gentle push here. Here's without it. So you see we just got a little bit more beef to the bottom end there. And I'm just controlling the drive separately. I chose this, like I said, a gentle push saturation. There's a bunch of other things that you can do too with shaping and filtering, but I just want to focus on the multi-band saturation for this. All right, so let's move on to this frequency band. We got 81 to, I don't know, let's do maybe 2K, give or take. And on this one, I might do more of a distortion. So let's hear what this sounds like soloed. Might go through a couple different ones. Yeah, I like what this blues driver sounds like, and then we can control the drive of it. Control the gain. which is cool because it can control it for the individual parts here. So if I wanted to control the gain of just this band right here, I could still have that low end come in and then just ease up a little bit, so I could really go out of control with this 81 to 2K right here. All right, and then let's just do the top end. Sometimes with the top end, I like to just try something a little bit more crazy at first. So let's try a driver. Yeah, and for the top end, I usually like to go with something a little more crazy with it, just because the top end of the bass isn't always going to show up the best. So I want to do something to really excite it so it can cut through on a lot of speakers, some iPhone speakers, laptop speakers, earbuds, those type of things, to really let it be known, just in case someone's not always listening on a nice system or nice headphones. Cool, and let's hear what that sounds like with everything here. And I'll bypass it halfway through. Yeah, so you can hear what I did there. I was able to excite different areas and do different types of distortion at different frequencies. It's pretty cool. Let's hear what it sounds like in the mix here. It just really punches through a lot more. That's what I really like about it. Just helps a lot. So I'll go ahead and show you a different plugin, just in case you don't have Isotope Trash. One by UAD that I like to use sometimes too, the BX Saturator by Brainworks. Also, Plugin Alliance makes this plugin as well. So if you're liking what you're seeing from this, but you don't want to go out and buy a UAD interface or satellite just to be able to use the UAD plugins, you can still get this one from Plugin Alliance. So I'll show you how this one kind of works. This one's got some cool things to it as well. So I'm going to solo the frequency here, and we got our crossover fader here that's going to kind of choose what's controlling what between these two right here. So if we go here, then this one's going to be everything above this line, and then this right here is going to be controlled everything from this line below. So you can also switch it a little bit if you want this one to focus more on those mid-highs as well. So I'll show you that. And then we'll go to our mid-low here. And this one's kind of cool too, because you also have your choice for doing some saturation and stuff to the sides. Usually you're not going to get too much if you're doing 808s or bass. You're not going to get too much of the side information of the low end. So I usually just kind of focus. If I do add some sides here, I'll just usually focus more on the high part of it. And then what's really cool about this plugin is we got this mono master right here. So what this will do, if you choose a frequency, it will make this and below mono, and then the rest will be stereo, which is cool because then you can have your bass and sub frequencies stay right down the middle while exciting the sides a little bit too of the higher stuff. So I'll show you what that sounds like. All right, and I'll show you what this sounds like in the mix. Cool. And just keep in mind, too, whenever you're doing this, you might need to adjust your volume on that channel later because you are distorting things and raising the gain on different areas. All right, so now I'm going to show you my favorite plugin to do this with. It's a FabFilter plugin, no surprise there. I love their stuff, but I also really like the Isotope and UAD stuff too. But you'll see why I really like FabFilter Saturn for multiband saturation. I think it gives me the most choices and versatility, and I really like the control that I can have. So the first thing you want to do is you just kind of go up here and you see this plus sign. You can click anywhere. And what I like about this is you can do up to 6 if you want. It's super awesome. So you can do 6 areas. For this, though, I'll probably do, I don't know, maybe we'll start with 4 and see what that does. So you just pull these bands right here, and that'll change your frequency. I'm going to go from 0 to 80, and then the next one I'll go 80 to maybe like 200, and you can always adjust these. I'm just doing this because I'm guessing, this is going to be the fundamentals of the sub. This will be more the fundamentals of the beefiness to it and the roundness to it. This right here will be an area of some problems, but as well as some stuff that will punch through on some cheaper speakers. And then this right here will be where our attack is, and also some areas where it might not always show up the most on bass. So this is an area where I kind of want to be a little bit more aggressive. So we'll start with this area down low. I usually, when I'm using this one, I usually go for the warm tube, because I remember watching a FabFilter tutorial on this, and they were saying that the warm tube has a little bit of a boost at 60 hertz that just really helps it just give more of a boom to it. So I really like that. So let's start with this. We'll solo out that frequency right here. It's cool too because you can control the different bands of it too. So if you want to boost the bass a little bit, maybe even boost the presence of just this band here, and we'll move on to this one. Yeah, warm tape could work. I always go max at first just so I can really hear what it's doing. Hear what those two sound like together. See, it's really starting to excite some things. Let's move on to this more mid-range here. Maybe some gentle saturation could work. Probably lower the volume of this. You can lower it either here or just pull down this tab. So you can hear too what that's doing. If I get rid of it, can really help it come through on some lower quality speakers that don't always let the bass come through. So let's probably ease up on it a little bit though. And then for the top end, again, I like to get a little bit more aggressive with this. So let's start with maybe a power amp, see what that sounds like. Probably turn the volume down. Check out what that sounds like in the mix. Yeah, definitely one of my favorite things to do there. I'll just show you a couple little more things about this plugin too that I like. You can control the wet dry on each band, which I think is so cool. So you can, like maybe on this high end that we got really aggressive with, we could have that in there. And then just blend in the wet dry. Or if you really like what we got down here, and you like how that's saturating those frequencies, but you just want to ease up a little bit, you can blend in the original signal with the wet signal now too. It's kind of cool. And another thing I think is super cool about this is you can control the panning of each band here. So check this out. If we go over here, we can pan, right? And we can pan this side over here. So let's listen to them together, right? And then we'll listen to it with everything with the saturation. It's cool, you can do some really cool stereo things right there where you can really make things appear wider than they really are because you're saturating different frequencies and then they're panned. Let's just hear what that sounds like in the mix. Maybe something to think about too for different synths. Might not always be the best choice for bass, but think of, different synths or different pads to do that with. Maybe some background vocals. Anything that you really want to appear wider is kind of a cool trick. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through a couple of these back and forth so you can hear the difference between them. They are going to sound different because I chose different parameters on each one, but just to kind of see the different choices that you have, because you don't have to use the same parameters and types of saturation that I used for this. There's so many endless possibilities. I mean, you could have 6 bands go on with a bunch of different saturations and distortions. You could use 2 of these if you wanted at the same time. Just a lot of options. So I definitely encourage you to try different things to see how far you can go with it. So let's go back and forth and see what they sound like. And let's hear what it sounds like in the mix. Yeah, and maybe for the Saturn one, I'll bring back in the mix a little bit more there and beef up some of the bass too. Could just be a little bit thicker, which is cool too because you do have those options to be able to do that. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I hope this helps. Hopefully be able to do some really cool things with this. It's definitely one of my favorites, and there's a lot of different plugins that you can do this with. These are just 3 that I have that I really like to be able to do that with. I'm sure there's a lot of stock plugins that you can do this with as well. Ableton and Logic come with some stuff that gives you these options as well.
So I hope that you got a lot out of that video. Hopefully the information was useful. If you're getting a lot out of these, be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the weekly tutorials that we do. And as always, if you're liking this, please comment below. Let us know what kind of tutorials you want to see in the future. Oracle and I are always trying to find the information that you want. And if you like what you hear from me, you can find me all over social media at Realistic Productions. You can find me at the web, realisticproductions.net. And as always, you can find SoundOracle everywhere at SoundOracle. You can go over to SoundOracle.net if you're looking for the nastiest 808s, the best kicks, and the best snares to really get your production popping. All right, till next time.